to another edition of Cheers to Careers. I'm Steve Ridinghouse, the Career Outreach Coordinator at the School of Journalism and Mass Communications at KU.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Cheers to Careers. I'm Steve Ridinghouse, the Career and Outreach Coordinator for the KU School of Journalism and Mass Communications. Today, we are joined by EthanPflumm. He is the Communications Manager at USA Today Co. Welcome, Ethan.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I got to touch base with you again a little bit last month when we had Susan Page, our William Allen White Foundation recipient. And she was awesome, very generous with her time. So I know that was a big part of your role, was working with her. What was that experience like, being here for William Allen White Day?
Well, it was a really big full circle moment, for sure. I mean, I remember attending those in undergrad, so being able to do it as an employee of someone that was getting recognized was a huge deal for me. She's such an amazing reporter, she's an amazing human, so being able to watch her also get recognized was really important. But I basically followed her around all day. I was a little publicist for her, so it was a great experience to be able to meet with you and meet with some other professors again.
Now, was that the first time you'd ever met Susan Page, or did you work with her before?
I'd worked with her before. That was the second time I've seen her in real life.
Okay.
But yeah, I worked with her previously.
And did she know of your KU connections before that day began?
She did, yeah.
Okay.
We told her, yeah, for sure.
So what was your primary role with that day? I know she was in the studio, got interviewed by one of our students, and of course she had the big event at the Union.
Yeah.
So were you just kind of following her step by step, and did you have to prep her in any way?
She's a pro. I mean, she does so much broadcast. She's a journalist herself, and she has been for decades. So she's a pro. My role was really to make sure that I'm capturing content for internal communications. It's always good to have a PR rep when you have someone, doing an appearance like that. So just for any support that she needed, make sure that she knew everything about the school. If she needed anything, I was there for her. Of course, the staff was wonderful about keeping her prepared as well. But I was really just there for support and to capture some photos and stories for the internal comms.
I know she had a great speech and talked about her Kansas ties growing up in Wichita. Did you have any say in her speech at all?
I didn't. No, that was actually my first time hearing it.
But
like I said, she's such a pro. I mean, she really doesn't need the help. I mean, she's phenomenal.
So other than Susan, are there any other USA Today employees that you have to work with, or are you more like not so much focused on employees, but just kind of the messaging in general?
I do, so I always call myself the team catch-all because I do internal comms, external, I run our corporate social media. So I'm working with very broad swaths of the organization. From the journalists, we have 200 plus local publications. So I'm working with a bunch of journalists all day and all night, but we also have our Ventures Endurance brand, and we host marathons across the country. So I work with that sector of the business as well. And we have a digital marketing solutions business, and I work with those employees too. So I'm kind of everywhere, whether it's in the newsroom working with the content team, or I'm doing the races and doing events and that sort of thing. So it keeps it interesting.
And I had to remind myself, you didn't graduate that long ago. I think, December 23?
Yeah.
And looking at your LinkedIn profile, you've been busy.
Yes.
Was that the plan, to be that busy, or did you kind of know what you wanted to do once you did graduate?
Yeah, so I was interning at a PR agency called the Brandman Agency remotely, and I actually got that PR internship through a KU grad. Okay. So it was a great connection. But I was working there remotely, and then they offered me a full-time job. So thankfully, I had enough credits to actually graduate early, and so I was like, let's get it done, and I graduated a semester early, and I had to move up to New York for the job. So I moved up there, and I really hit the ground running. But I mean, it was maybe 3 or 4 weeks between finishing classes in December and then being in New York in my apartment in Brooklyn. So
was that a big adjustment, just that New York lifestyle, or is that something you were prepared to do?
It's a big adjustment. Yeah, it's a big adjustment.
Because you kind of grew up here in the Midwest, right?
Yeah. Born and raised in the Kansas City area. So it's an amazing city. It's a city that a lot of people hate and love at the same time. It really depends on the day. You need to be prepared to hit everything and be prepared for what the city will throw at you. But it was a really big adjustment, for sure.
And now you pretty much working remotely, right?
Yes, yeah.
Is that a lifestyle that you've adjusted to? I know people seem to like it, but sometimes that can be a challenge where you might not have that face-to-face interaction with your colleagues. Or are you making it work?
Yeah, so a large part of the company is remote, so that helps too. We do a lot of meetings, so I do get to meet with my coworkers often. And when I was living in New York and working at USA Today Co., we were able to meet in person and do happy hours or just go to the office and see each other. So that was great, but it is an adjustment for sure. Going from at my agency, a hybrid model, 3 days in office and seeing everyone every day, to remote. But the flexibility is also unmatched, and so many people want the remote job. So I try not to take it for granted.
And is that kind of how you got the Susan Page assignment, because you were that close, or did you jump at it, or how did that kind of work out?
Yeah, it was convenient because I was here. I had moved back to the Kansas City area last January. So it was just convenient for me to be able to come back here, and I lived in the area. So, it was a quick drive for me.
Any issues with remote, like kind of scheduling your day-to-day, or is that pretty routine now? You kind of know what to expect?
You get used to it. Okay. Yeah, I mean, in PR and comms, you need to be ready to take anything that comes at you, and I can have an agenda for the day, and I live and die by my planner, and I can get maybe 2 or 3 things done out of a list of 5 or 6, and because I just had so much added to my plate. So you need to be ready to hit the ground running and just kind of take whatever's thrown at you.
So you're doing communications like in the media industry. Are there any challenges about being a communicator for like kind of a media entity? Does that create any sort of issues, or is it still kind of a smooth process?
Yeah, it takes a little bit of learning, because you think, when you're in an agency, you're trying to get the media's attention.
Yeah.
So being in a news organization, you kind of think like, okay, how do we get our competitors' attention, or how do we get another media organization's attention? So it's a different dynamic, for sure, but I wouldn't say it's challenging. I would say it actually is a little bit more of a benefit, because we work with journalists and we know what they're interested in. So you learn what makes a story because you're working with them day in and day out, and you kind of know what piques their interest, versus on the agency side, I feel like you maybe are doing a little bit of guesswork, and you need to really get creative in how you're attaching or capturing their attention. But being on the inside, it definitely makes it a little bit easier.
And during your time at KU, did you have some solid career aspirations, like I know exactly what I want to do, or were you one that just kind of like, hey, I've got the skills, I kind of know the industry, but I'm going to kind of go with the flow? Or what was kind of your approach when you were a student?
Yeah, I was really goal-oriented. So the one thing I knew I wanted to do is I knew I wanted to move. I knew I wanted to either go to a big city like LA or New York. I was really set on New York mainly because of the public transit, but I would have been open to anywhere. But I knew I wanted to move, and I know I wanted to work in PR. So when I landed my internship at the Brandman agency, my kind of natural pathway was to get a full-time job there and move to New York.
Okay.
Thankfully, it ended up happening that way, and it doesn't always happen that way, but I'm very fortunate that it did. But yeah, I'm very goal-oriented, and that was sort of my pathway that I had set out for myself.
And were you on the Stratcom concentration when you were here at KU?
Yeah.
Okay. Was that your choice when you first started at KU? Because I know a lot of times students, they come out of high school and they think, maybe they were a yearbook, newspaper, and they do the journalism before they kind of find, oh, I didn't know this whole new concentration was out there. Or were you on the concentration right away?
I was on the Stratcom, yeah, immediately. Yeah, I hit the ground running. I pretty much knew what I wanted to do right out of high school. Like I said, very, very goal-driven. So.
And what were some of the activities you were involved in as a student? Were there any sort of clubs, or were you just kind of focused on class and part-time jobs, or did you get time to get involved in any sort of clubs outside of KU?
I did the agency and I did PRS.
Okay. Yeah. What was the agency experience like? Because I know that's one of our jewels here. We love to brag about. We just had some students win, or actually a finalist for some national competition. What do you remember about that experience, and what were some of the roles you had?
Yeah. Well, Dr. Rose is amazing. She's such a wealth of knowledge, and she has so much experience. So being able to learn from her and work under her was amazing. Honestly, I was on the PR side of the agency, so just learning what the structure of an agency was like was really important to me. But you get to work with real clients, day in and day out. And if you do the advertising side and you participate in INSAC, you get to actually have some pretty big portfolio pieces that I think will help you land like an entry-level job outside of college. But I was mainly on the PR side, and I got to work with some local businesses here in Lawrence. So.
Do you remember who some of those businesses were, or can you say?
It was a restaurant on Mass, Big Mill, I believe it was. Yeah.
Okay. And PR, I mean, I think sometimes I was a PR director for 10 years, and I think a lot of times they just assume, oh, media relations. And that is still a big part of it, even with all the technology. But how do you kind of describe PR? I mean, what's more involved than just, say, the traditional media relations? I mean, you got strategy, you're doing a lot of writing, crisis communication, social media is now a part of it. I mean, you kind of do a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah. People always go into PR and they think it's really glamorous, and you're attending like parties and you're just like a big like networking, and it's a little bit more administrative than I think people realize, and that was a little bit of an adjustment. I worked in luxury travel when I first started, so you kind of think like, oh, I'm going to be going on these amazing trips, and you're meeting people from Vogue, and there is a little bit of that, but you're maybe not being exposed to that, at a coordinator level. Right. But it's a lot more administrative. You're writing press releases all of the time. There's a lot of approvals. There's a lot of email chains. You're basically a little connector is kind of the best way to put it. You're connecting pieces of stakeholders and journalists and different organizations together. And you need to be prepared to kind of be like a little email monster, I think. But yeah, you're doing press releases, you're doing social media, you're doing pitching, and you're working with journalists, which I think is why a lot of people go into PR. You do a little bit of the crisis comms, but your role really changes day in and day out.
Do you think your experiences here at the J School, the kind of traditional journalism, ethics and communications, do you think that's helped you communicate better with other journalists?
Yeah, for sure. Especially working in a news organization.
I think so.
I think sometimes people can have a little bit of a disconnect when they try and work with journalists, and maybe they only studied comms. I had the benefit of being kind of on the journalism side and getting a journalism degree. So learning the ethics And learning what journalists want is, I think, really key to being successful in your job, and KU definitely taught me how to do that.
Do you do a lot with story pitches?
Yes, yeah, we do.
Because I think that definitely plays a big role because you kind of know what they're looking for. I always took pride in that for sure.
Yeah.
And I did see, so you had a communications coordinator role at USA Today to start about a year. Now you're a year into your current role. Were you promoted? Did you have to apply for your current role, or how did that process kind of happen?
I was promoted. Yeah,
Okay, nice.
I was just promoted into the role. Yeah, I was a coordinator long enough, and I guess they liked me enough to promote me. So yeah, I ended up getting it.
So were you ready for that challenge, or were you thinking, wow, I don't know, it's only been a year, or did you jump at the chance?
They had prepped me a little bit for it. Yeah, I think that there was a little bit of a road to it, and they knew that. So I was getting more and more responsibilities, as time was going on. And we're a pretty small team. We're a very lean team. We're a team of 5 right now.
Okay.
So I was exposed to a lot very early on in general. But there was a little bit of a runway there to get me started, and they definitely prepared me for the role. So when I got that manager title, I was very prepared.
I don't want to put you on the spot. With your team members, what are kind of their responsibilities or their titles, if you know them? Like what does each one have to do?
Yeah, so we have our chief communications officer, who's obviously head honcho, and she's phenomenal. I mean, she's making decisions day in, day out. She's constantly available 24/7. Like, she's incredible at her job. Then we have my manager, who is senior director, chief of staff.
Okay.
I report up to her, and she also is kind of like making decisions for our chief communications officer and kind of being a little barrier to help solve problems before they get to her. Then we have a vice president, and then we also have a senior director of internal communications.
Is your team scattered throughout the whole country?
Yes, yeah, we're everywhere.
So do you have a standing daily, weekly meeting where you all do talk to each other, or does that vary week to week?
Yeah, we have weekly meetings, and then I have one-on-ones with most of my team as well.
Okay. Before we move on to Fast 5, what kind of tips would you have for, a graduation here in a couple of weeks, for those soon-to-be grads that might want to do what you want to do? What should they be prepared?
Yeah, get portfolios ready,
okay.
And connect on LinkedIn. Looking at who's promoting jobs, reach out to them. If you can afford it, get LinkedIn Premium. Like, sending those in-mail messages really, really matter. I think a lot of times it's easy to kind of throw an application out there and it get lost in the dark.
Right.
And the hardest part, I think, is just getting in front of someone. Getting in front of who you're going to be reporting to, or a recruiter, is the biggest hurdle. And I think once you get there, it's a lot easier coasting after that. So use your connections to your advantage and really start networking.
Have you been able to do that early in your career so far, make those connections? Has that kind of helped you?
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I got my first internship actually through a KU alumni. So making that connection really launched my career, essentially.
Did you connect with that alum online or in person, or do you remember what that initial meeting was like?
Yeah, so she actually emailed a professor here at the J School and was like, we're looking for interns, please send me emails or have them email me, and I did. We connected on LinkedIn and we met on a virtual call, and that's kind of how it happened. But I'm always willing to connect with people. If anyone just wants to learn about PR and comms, if there's a job they're interested in and they want to apply, shoot me a message, and I'm always available. I'm
the advisor to our PRSSA organization, so I might have you be a guest speaker this coming fall.
For sure.
Okay, Ethan, so I have some Fast 5.
Okay, I'm ready.
Hope they're fun questions for you. Of all your KU journalism classes, which one do you feel you use most with your job right now? Was there one or maybe there's 2 that you rely on?
The intro to the agency class was probably one of my favorites, and yeah, it taught me a lot.
Do you have a favorite PR case study, whether that was like this great PR effective plan or on the like a communications crisis? Is there one that really resonates with you, like a company did a great job, either, like I think about the Ice Bucket Challenge or something like that, or on the flip side where there's a crisis, is there one that really wow, I hope this doesn't happen to me?
Oh God, I mean, there's a lot of them. Yeah, the one that always sticks out in my mind is the kind of infamous Kendall Jenner Pepsi advertisement.
Okay.
It was, I think, an example of not knowing your audience and kind of throwing a tone-deaf ad out there that maybe wasn't, meeting the moment in that right way. So that's the one that I think is probably one of the most popular that I think of.
I know when I was a PR director, I always kept a file close by, like it could happen here. Like if I'd see something like that, I'd clip it. It's like, okay, here's how they responded. And that thing got thicker and thicker every year. So when you travel, do you prefer window seat, aisle seat?
Ooh, probably the aisle seat.
Aisle seat?
Yeah.
Wow, most people like the window. So you like the aisle just?
If I need to get up, I don't want to have to step over people. That's my biggest thing, yeah.
I know you said you do some social media. So what is your go-to social media platform? Either professionally you think connects with your audience the most, or on the personal side, is there one that you'd like to favor more than other?
Professionally, LinkedIn. Personally, probably TikTok.
TikTok?
Yeah.
And I noticed you have a few skills listed on your LinkedIn profile. What is your go-to skill? I saw you had InDesign, Microsoft Office, Public Relations, Illustrator, Photoshop. Is there one that they say, hey, Ethan is he's your go-to guy. Which one should I be calling you for?
Any sort of design work, I think. If I have to jump in for any design work, they're usually like send it to Ethan and have him, fire up Adobe and we'll get, because no one else really knows how to do it on my team, so they throw it at me. Yeah, but I love it.
So you're probably pretty savvy with InDesign and the whole Adobe.
Yeah, I am.
Awesome. Well, Ethan, hey, I know you got a busy schedule. I appreciate you joining us.
Thanks for
making the trip. And yeah, it was great to connect with you last month at William Allen White Day and with Susan Page. And I go, wow, we need to get you on the podcast.
Thank you.
So hey, cheers and keep up the good work. Thanks, Ethan.
Thanks so much.